Greetings. You're now tuned in to 13signsastrology.com. My name is Ram Hotep, and I thank you for listening, and I thank you for watching. And that's Ra M. Hotep. On this particular episode, I want to talk about the prison that we live in called the human body. Many of you have heard me talk about on my videos how much power and potential that you have as a being that exists within this human body. In this particular segment, I want to walk you through some of the degrees and the different phases that you may go through on your journey and on your quest to reach your human potential. Now, you hear me talk about the natal chart, and you hear me talk about how the natal chart is pretty much the blueprint or the cosmic code that kind of set the stage for your energy. So this is kind of like the operating system for your particular system, for your hard drive. So this is the operating system for your computer, aka the human body, which is your natal chart. But within your natal chart, just because you have an awesome natal chart, and you know I've said this before, does not mean that you're going to reach your potential or you're going to meet your life purpose. Because I see many awesome natal charts, and if that was the case, then we wouldn't have this cycle of reincarnation that most of us are trapped into. Very few people get to a point where they can free themselves from the prison. Many figure out a way to escape the prison. You have a lot of escape artists, but to escape is not to be free. You need to look up the term escape and then look up the term freedom. See, the only true freedom comes through the law. And all civilized people know this. You will only find freedom through knowing the law and your mastery of the law. And there's different laws governing the human existence, but all laws are written and based upon universal law. So when you learn universal law, you figure out first that you're in a prison. That's the first thing you're going to figure out once you learn universal law. You get a chance to figure out you're in a prison. Many people live in this prison and don't realize they're in a prison. And that has a lot to do with why people can't seem to find themselves, find their purpose, and to reach their potential. I get emails all the time with people asking me, Ra, what's up? I need to know my life purpose. And I know you talk about a lot about on your videos how you can look into a natal chart and pretty much tell the person their life purpose. And I can do that. I can look in your natal chart and I can pretty much tell you and give you an assignment like, yo, this is your life purpose, and pretty much give you a script, if you will. And this is how many of the magi and the priests back in the day, see, this is how they did it when they were into astrology. They didn't really teach a person astrology. They gave them a multiple choice of different scripts or different, job assignments that they could put themselves into based upon the potential of their natal chart. So say, for instance, they may look at a natal chart and they may see that a person has a potential to be a janitor, or they have a potential to work on cars, or they have a potential to be a police officer. And these three things is based on different attributes that they see in that person's natal chart. They may have a lot of Martian, strong Mars placements. All those careers I named are based on a lot of, you have to have strong Mars placements to really be in those careers and to be somewhat content. You have to have like working, like primitive work, not necessarily using your mind, ambition. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not talking against anybody here. So I'm just making a point. So you have different, I can tell a person their potential based upon these different, I can give you 3 different job assignments and say, well, your mission is to be a janitor and to start the janitorial association and to reform the whole industry of the whole janitorial industry. Or your mission may just be to push a broom. But that again is based on not just your natal chart, but the different degrees of human existence that you're on. And that's what I'm going to get into today. Because you have the natal chart, this is the potential, but then you have different types of humans. And it's important for you yourself to know which level you're on, and also to know what level different people around you may be on when you talk about these different types of humans that I'm going to get into here today. So you have the body, but it's not enough. You have different selves, different phases that you go through as a human being. Some people are on different, like when I go through these different levels, you're going to find out that some people are stuck on maybe 1 or 2, and they can't really get past level 1 or level 2. And then some people have reached, level 4, level 5 or whatever. So there's different levels of humans. So when you deal with a human being, any human being, you have to know that each human being is on a different level. You see them in a shell, and just because they're in the human shell and they work at the same job as you and they do the same tasks as you does not necessarily mean they're in the same existence as you. So this is what I'm getting into now. I'm getting into breaking down the human existence so that you can understand the human existence, and then you can go back into your natal chart once you know the level that you're on and apply the information in your natal chart based on the level that you're on. See, that's the problem, is that I can't really teach astrology. I can teach astrology to a group of people, definitely. I'm a universalist, and astrology is a universal message. However, many people say, I need like a more definite purpose. And if you need that more of a definite purpose, this is when it gets specific to different individuals. The information has to get specific to different individuals. So this is why I have to break it down even and make it more plain, if you will. So let's go into it. The first level of human existence you have is the one who is lost. This is like when the baby is first born. And what does the baby do when it's born? Well, some babies are more advanced than others. Most of the time they start to look around. And that's some of the first, they cry and they look around because they're lost. They're in a different world, in a different dimension than what they were used to. So this is, on one level, we're all lost when we come into this plane from the womb, from the corridor, the dark hole, our mother's black hole, or the vagina. When we come through that canal, we are coming in lost. However, when we start to get into learning about the different phases of human potential, human development, you'll find out that basically you go through, once you become an adult, you're going to start back over again. And you're going to go through a period and a phase of being lost. You really don't know yourself. You really don't. You're an adult, you're of age, but you don't know yourself, your body. So this is what I'm like, you have to keep in mind when I talk about somebody being lost in these different stages. Keep in mind that all this information is specific to spirituality. Just because you got a nice job and a nice car and you may make $1 million a year, that doesn't mean that you have found yourself. You could still be lost. So it doesn't matter like about these mundane attributes that you find in society because you work at some job or whatever, or you have a family, a functional family. This doesn't mean that you found yourself. And I'm going to explain to you why. Because when you found yourself, it's a certain type of contentment you have in life. And only you can really answer this question, you watching the video. So that's the first stage or whatever. You have a human being, an adult human being that's lost, that doesn't really know themselves. They're just functioning in society based upon what comes at them. And they really don't too much think outside of the box of their life, getting to work on time, making sure their children eat, things like that. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but this is, like I said, a certain level. If that's the level you want and you choose to be on in this incarnation, that's fine too. So this is not a video to try to get people to be like well, you need to come up to this level. Everybody needs to come up to this level. No, the information I teach is about helping other people to accept other people that may be on different levels. I never try to bring a person up to anything. There's nothing to bring you to because you are the sole controller of your reality. Now the next phase would be the human beast, or basically one who is not lost. They understand life. Like these are a lot of people trapped in this. Like they understand spiritual life in the context of right and wrong, basically is what I'm saying. So they're not lost because they understand right and wrong. They understand justice. But they may not fully understand universal law. They may not understand the law of polarity and the law of attraction and the law of allowing and all that. But at the same time, they understand right from wrong. It's in their heart. However, they choose to be a beast. You have a lot of people out here like this. The way you get like this and to get on this level of being a beast where you just don't really care, it's all about gratifying the body. Like, this is what the human beast is, or a person that's in beast mode. It's all about just gratifying the self, the physical self, which means the flesh. So you have a group of people that are on beast mode, and it's easy to identify them. These are the people that you say you're going to eat healthy and try to change your life, and they say, well, so what, you're going to eat healthy? You're still going to die, because there's a million ways to die. You could die from smog. You could die from pollution, from breathing in the wrong type of air. So you're still going to die, so why even change your diet? You might as well just live right now, just live it up, right? That's the human beast. He can even go as far as materialism. The human beast doesn't too much care about. See, one who, like somebody like a rich person like Warren Buffett, this person is not a beast, a human beast. A human beast, the way they deal with money is that, see, people look at rich people like they're beasts and they're animals and all of this type of stuff, but you haven't really been around billionaires. I have. You know what I'm saying? You haven't been around millionaires or whatever. A lot of people haven't. So you really don't even know. But when you start being around these people and then you compare it to you be around materialistic and beastie people, you'll find out that the beast, or the person that's living in human beast mode, is way more materialistic, and their ambition is driven more so by material. This is not the thinking man or woman. Woman or man means to think. Woman is a thinker with a womb. That's what a woman is, a thinker with a womb. A man is a thinker without the womb, but still a thinker. So this, of course, is not the potential of a human being to be a beast, but many people get stuck on it. And you know you're stuck on it when the material rules, like you get a new car and you get addicted to the new car smell, as they say, for a couple years, and then you need another new car because like 2 years later the new car smell gone. It's musty up in there. So you need another car. So this is the person that's tracked on beast mode. Now the next level is you have the soldier, the convert, the warrior. This is a really good phase. You got a lot of people in society right now on this level too. Now the soldier, the convert, the warrior is one who has something higher, and it's usually a person or a group or organization. Usually it's not usually anything metaphysical or spiritual, but they have something higher to live for. It may be the church. It might not necessarily be the metaphysical aspect of Jesus, because you got a lot of people in the church that they're in the church because they're into the hierarchy of the church, the order of the church, and the actual, their reverend. Like they swear allegiance to their actual reverend. And there's nothing wrong with this. Keep in mind, I'm not teaching right or wrong here again. So you have the person that, this is the soldier or the convert or the warrior. And it can be, it's not just limited to religion. You have soldiers in the music industry, people that swear their allegiance. They really don't want to start their own record label or anything like that. They swear their allegiance to a mogul. You have people in media that are the soldier or the warrior. They work for a business, a corporation. They swear their allegiance to CNN. And that's what they swear their allegiance to. You know what I'm saying? So you have different, basically it doesn't matter or whatever, because it doesn't really matter who it is. The bottom line is that this type of person, or what industry they're in, I should say, the bottom line is that they swear their allegiance to something higher. They may not necessarily know or think about what's going on at the top. What do these people do? You know what I'm saying? Like this person is not thinking like in advance like that. They want to just moralize and look up to something higher than them. And this is the soldier and the warrior. They don't want to really have to think. They just want to swear their allegiance to something, like a patriot or something like that. They want to swear their allegiance to their country. They don't want to really think about the dirt and the shit that their country may be into. So they're like, again, it's not wrong with that. This is a phase of human development. So you have many people in soldier, convert, and warrior phase. And the thing about this level is that this is where you get into duality. See, the human beast pretty much, I mean, everybody has free will and duality, of course, but the human beast, which is the level up under this one, This is a person that turns off the ability to think about right and wrong. They're not lost. Like I said, they know right and wrong, but they're just like, I'm just going to do what I want to do. I just want to gratify myself. So it's not about right, wrong, anything. So there's really not a lot of duality in gratifying yourself. You just wait for the next urge to hit you, and then you go gratify it. So you have a group of people out there like that. They're just all about gratifying themselves, which is the human beast. But the soldier and the convert and the warrior phase, this is the phase when you get into good and evil. This is the phase when essentially you could be swearing your allegiance to the light force or to the archonic and dark force. And the thing with the soldier or convert or warriors is that they may not be knowledgeable as to whether or not they're on the side of so-called right or light, which is really right, or if they're on the side of so-called dark or so-called evil, which is really fear or ignorance. So this is the interesting thing about the soldier and convert and warrior phase, is that's when you get into duality and introducing good, so-called good and evil, and or the high road, what I like to call the high road versus the low road. Now, when I talk about good and I talk about evil, to me, evil is anything that basically essentially traps you, locks you down. Anything that traps you or locks you down or imprisons you is evil. So when we talk about the human body, I love my body. However, I look at the body as being evil and being basically a part of what you would call the devil, because of the fact that the body is material. The body is locked into matter. And anytime that you do anything and feed the body something, what's going to happen? When you feed the body anything and it likes it, it's going to want more of it and more of it and more of it. So it doesn't have really like a turn-off mechanism. See, that's why people don't understand like good. So for me, when I talk about evil, I'm not speaking of it on a judgmental perspective, like that person's evil because they said a cuss word. That's not, no. Evil is way deeper. Evil is when you're locked or imprisoned into a situation, and the body itself is based on evil. The body experiences anxiety and fear and a lot of emotions that are based on evil. So the soldier, the convert, the warrior has to learn, if they want to move to the next level, they have to learn about the lessons of good and evil, so that they can know how far to take their allegiance to whatever they swear their allegiance to, whatever higher force they're swearing their allegiance to. Some people want to swear their allegiance totally to evil. You have soldiers for evil. And what I mean by that, these are people that are, their mission is dedicated to keeping people locked into the paradigm of matter and material. Why? Because you have a group of beings that benefit from that. You have a big group of beings that benefit from people coming back to this planet so many times and playing out so many different realities. And in that that's prison. And in that is evil. However, there can be a good aspect to that. There can be a good aspect to that. And that's when you get into understanding, or there could be an evil aspect to it. And that's when you get into the next levels of level 4 and level 5, which is level 4 is the dark worker phase, and level 5 is the, what I like to call the perfecti phase, which I got from researching some ancient faiths back in ancient Rome. Before ancient Rome came into existence, the Roman Empire, you had different faiths. And in one of these faiths called the Cathars, they had a level called the perfecti. So I'm going to use that term here in this particular episode. So on the dark worker, the perfecti phase, this is like night and day. This is like the God and the devil phase. So this is when you get into the highest level of existence, which is God or devil. You can either be a God, ultimately, so-called God, or let's get deeper, because I don't really like to use the term God, because that could be good or evil. So you could either be a being of light, like Lucifer was one of light, or you could be one of dark, or a dark worker, or a being, or like the Prince of Darkness, or one who works dark spells intentionally. And it's different humans. You have to understand there's different people out there working like this. You have the dark worker, And then you have the perfecti, and they function differently. Like the way they go about living their life is totally differently. This is why I'm doing this video or whatever. So the particular dart worker, their life is based on manipulation, taking energy so that they can live off of it and to go further, trapping people in certain realities and feeding off their energy, the negative energy of that particular person being trapped in that prison. So what the dart worker learns how to do is that they learn how to trap a person in a prison of their own reality by fucking up that person's chakras, by feeding them negative information, lying to this particular person, telling them things that aren't true, basically playing spells on that particular person's mind. So that's a particular stage. You got a group of people that live like that, just like I talked about in the Shadow Brotherhood video. And then you have another group called the Perfecti. And these particular human beings live on what's called the high road. And they live off of what Christians would call somewhat of like a Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit, but the Holy Spirit is really like a light that's not available here in this dimension, and this light must be channeled. So those people that live on what's called the Perfecti or the high road, there's different levels to it. But those particular people that live off the high road, they believe in gratifying the self and the body and the physical body. However, they believe in balance. So when they do a thing to their body and they gratify the physical body, they'll do a thing to balance that out. Meaning that, see, the Perfecti aren't religious. It's not about religion or whatever. So like, say for instance, let me give you an example. The Perfecti will eat, they'll eat food and gratify the lower self and eat plenty of food. However, the next day they may go on a cleanse. They may eat raw the next day. So one day they may have a meal, they may feast and eat, meat or whatever. Like they may have a family feast and just eat a lot of different food with the family or whatever. I'm not saying you should eat meat, I'm not promoting that, but you have a group of people that are like Perfecti, they're shapeshifters, so they can turn around and eat meat and with the family, and then turn around and go out here and become a raw foodist or a vegetarian the next day, because they know their body. They may have a craving for the meat and they gratify that, and then they go ahead and fast and detox from the meat for 5 or 6 days after that. So you have people out there that are stuck on the first level. You got people that are lost. See, they don't think about stuff like that. People that are lost, they just eat whatever they want to eat whenever they want to eat it. They don't, and this is what I'm getting into. Most people don't think. So the Perfecti thinks about the dark aspect of themselves as well as the light aspect of themselves, and that's why this is the highest level. See, it puts them over the dark worker. The dart worker is powerful indeed because of manipulation. They can use tactics of manipulation to scare people, and they can feed off people's energy and put people in prisons to where they can't ever get out of it. And that's powerful. That's potent. However, the dart worker is a slave, his or herself, to their own body and their own fear. Reason why is because the Perfecti know that. Why do you have to manipulate? Like, why do you have to manipulate people and scare people and terrorize people to exist? So this is what it's all about. As a human being or whatever, is you want to perfect your existence. You want your existence to be optimal. Like, you don't want to be basically locked in an existence where you're controlled by desires or people and things of that nature. It's people that are locked into different types of existence. So the Perfecti choose the type of existence and reality that they want to live in. That's what makes them different. So they may work at a job, like I was talking about a person that works at a job earlier. They may work at the same job as you and do the same things as you. You might be like, what's so different about that person? Not different about them. But it's something very different about them is the fact that they're at peace and content with that same job that you may hate. And you say, well, why are they at peace and content? Because it's probably because they family, because they got a wife, or, you're going to find something outside to try to make that the reason why this person is happy at the job and you're not, because they got a better position. But it's not any of that. It could just be because that person is at peace. That person is content with their life situation. So that's how you know, like, as far as when you talk about human potential and human development, the best way to measure what level you're on is based on contentment. It's based on your heart. It's based on how do you feel every day about your life. Like, do you like what you do? Whatever it is, the lifestyle that you're in every day, the things that you do on a day-to-day basis, do you like it? And if you don't, you need to change it. And a lot of people, they fear change because They're stuck. They stuck on, a lot of people are stuck on the soldier, the convert, and the warrior phase, believe it or not. That's what most of society is in. And when you're stuck in that phase, you listen to outside sources a lot more. And if you listen to outside sources a lot more, that's when you get scared. And that's when fear comes up, because you got so many people telling you different things. So the reason why fear comes in is because you have all these different people giving you information and telling you things, and they're telling you things based on their life and their logic. And I'm not saying don't listen to advice. Like that's a fool. I mean, you definitely want to listen to advice, but I'm saying at the end of the day, if you know who you are and you know who you are as a person, you have to be able to choose the best advice for you and move out on that advice to change your life. Because other than that, if you embarked in fear mode and you keep listening to everybody else and just keep doing what this person tell you to do, and you end up here, then you start listening to that person, and you end up there, and you're not happy in either situation, and it's because you're doing what other people want you to do. You have to start doing the things that you want to do, and the only way to do that is to form some form of communion with the self. So this is why when you get into the perfecti phase, this is why we meditate. This is why we so-called pray to the universe to make certain decisions. It's because we have to rely on ourselves, the light within ourselves, to go to the next level. Like we can't look on the outside. The outside is only signs. This is what I like to call the outside world, signs and symbols. When I look on the outside, I look at it as a sign. So if I ask a person advice, I'm looking for the sign or the symbol and what they have to tell me. And people do this without even knowing they're doing it. So like, say for instance, if I'm looking for something and I'm like in a foreign area and I know where I'm going, and I ask a particular person, well, how do you get here? That person may be lost. I have to remember that. That person may be lost too. You don't know what level they're on. So I ask the person, well, how do you get to the east part of town? And that person's going to give me reference points and tell me, well, you go this way and that way and that way. And based on the knowledge that I have to decide as to whether or not that person knows what they're talking about or they don't. So again, I have to have a light turned on inside of me to even know that. And that's what I'm getting at here, is that, and you have to use that in your everyday life. So like, if you don't have the light turned on inside of you to really know where you're going, you're never going to get from lost mode. You're never going to leave the state of the human beast. Most people get trapped into the state of the human beast because of the fact that they don't have anything else to really live for. So this is why they gratify the lower self or the self indulgently without even thinking about the consequences. It's because you don't know yourself. You haven't defined yourself in the context of yourself. When you define yourself, of course, there's going to be boundaries. There's certain things you're not going to do, and there's certain things you are going to do. But you have to know, based upon the experiences that you're trying to get, and based upon the path and the road that you're trying to walk down. And even when you're a perfecti, and even when you take the high road, you still, to be a true perfecti, you never try to bring a person up to the level of a perfecti. You never do that. The reason why you never do that is because you wouldn't be a perfecti if you did. Because a perfecti understands and knows that those people up on the lower levels up under them are in experiences and realities that they must probably karmically or something is going on with their energy to where they need those experiences. And the only thing the perfecti can do is maybe shed truth and light while in that situation, but the perfecti has to keep it moving. The perfecti never stops and gets caught up with the group of people or a person to the point where they get off track with their life mission and purpose. And this is something that really is not taught in religion, because in religion, a lot of the religious patriarchs and, people to get positions of authority are taught to, on a day-to-day basis, to guide these same people every day and to make sure they stay on point. So you become like a shepherd. Whereas a perfecti is not a shepherd. A perfecti is one who, like I said, you give the message, you keep it moving. So some people say, well, Ram Hotep is like one of those type of people. He's kind of like, yeah, he's a light worker. He's kind of like a selfish light worker. But there is no such thing outside of anything else but a selfish light worker. Because if you're a light worker and you're worried about more people other than yourself, then you're not a true light worker. You're trapped on a lower level. You're not on the level of a perfecti. So even when you deal with the level of a perfecti and the level of a dark worker, there's various stages within those stages. So you have the one who is lost, the human beast, the soldier, the perfecti, and the dark worker. 5 different stages, and within the stages of the perfecti and the dark worker, you have 3 different levels within the perfecti, 3 different levels within the dark worker. There's 3 different types of dark workers. There's 3 different types of perfectis. There's levels within that, of which I won't cover here. But the bottom line is that you have to choose your role when you start talking about astrology. That's why I'm doing this video, because you have to know what type of human you want to really be. If you're a perfecti, you have to care about wild animals, the babies that can't speak for themselves. A perfecti's job is to speak for people that can't say anything. Animals are karmically beings too, that are trapped into bodies. And the animal may have gotten trapped into that body because they could have been in a human body at one point, but maybe they didn't deal with their experiences correctly. Not saying the humans are higher or lower, but the fact that an animal can't speak and talk and be able to communicate. Well, they communicate, but not the same way we do. This is why the animal needs a spokesperson. So the animals won't go extinct. And humans won't just start wiping out animals and things like that. So you have certain beings that get locked into that type of paradigm, and they need a perfecti or light being to speak for them. So when you get on that level of perfecti, there's different levels to even that. Just like when you get on the side of manipulation, there's different levels of manipulation. There's different levels of being a dark worker, in which I won't cover here, but I will say, when you are on a certain level of a dark worker, you have to basically keep it going, which means that you are like the head dark worker. You have to employ a group of dark workers up under you, and those dark workers up under you keep the darkness in the world or the environment that you're trying to manipulate. So it's interesting, but the perfecti, the thing that makes them different is that they're accepting and they're tolerant, because they know that as far as us being born in this matrix, we came here to experience multiple realities and to come here multiple times. And the perfecti deal with the universe's plan. See, the universe always wins. The reason why the universe always wins is because it's most patient. That's why it always wins. And the perfecti function like the universe. So the perfecti are always most patient. So they're patient with people to the point where if you have to spend your whole life living as a lost person, and that's what you decided to do with your natal chart, the perfecti have to accept that. If you choose to spend your whole life as a beast in this particular incarnation, that's what you have to do. Maybe you'll come back in another life and experience something different, and then all of those experiences together will help you to advance and to make it out. The last thing I want to say is, before I shut this video down, is one of the main reasons why I'm doing this video is that you talk about making it out. You won't make it out of the cycles of incarnation until you reach enlightenment, until you're illumined, until you become a perfecti. So if you're not happy and you're not content, you know that in your heart, you're still going to be trapped into the cycles of incarnation. If you pass over today, you have to ask yourself that. If you pass over today, are you content with your life? So a lot of people can't say yes. They can't say, like, what I mean by content, this means not content with being in misery, meaning that content, meaning that you've lived, because you may be in a state of misery right now, but what I mean by content is an ultimate level of content, which means that you lived your life to the fullest. And you happy in where you at, because wherever you came from, you got those necessary experiences, and you accept, just accepting, is being satisfied. So when you talk about the word hotep, you say hotep to a person, many people say that means peace, but like I always like to tell people, that means satisfaction. So are you satisfied? Hotep, the Egyptians knew the hotep was the ultimate satisfaction. So are you at hotep with yourself? You have to ask that. And if you are, then you are on the road to being a perfecti. You're on that stage. Because once you are happy with yourself, you're at peace with yourself, then you can better help people. Because you're happy with where you at. So you know you can help the other person because you know you're going to be smiling. But if you're in prison, or you're scared about something, or you have addictions, see, most people have addictions that they're fighting and things like that. When you have addictions and things like that that you're fighting, you're not happy with yourself about something if you're fighting it. Because if you're fighting it, this can't mean that you're happy. So if you die in a state of war, you're probably going to come back because you weren't happy. You were fighting a war because you wanted to change something about reality that you didn't like. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just know that that's the level that you want. So your goal is to find contentment. Always remember that. At all times, at all costs. look for the light and look for contentment. Peace.